Former Labor MP Michael Danby and National Senator Matt Canavan. Great to see you both. Now, Matt, you are currently in Winton in Queensland, the home of Waltzing Matilda and the shearers' strikes that led to the original Labor Party. Would the great names of Labor like Bob Hawke even recognise modern Labor, Matt?
Look, it's certainly dying on the vine. Just down the road from here is the Tree of Knowledge, where the original Shearers Pledge was taken that eventually formed the Labor Party, and that tree unfortunately died a couple of decades ago, and it's a bit of a metaphor for the modern Labor Party, at least when it comes to workers' rights. I mean, look at this election here. The Labor Party was founded here in this region, just up the road. Waltzing Matilda was penned, and that at least touched on the tension between squatters and swagmen, shearers of those times. It was founded in that context to defend shearers and protect shearers' rights. At this election, the Labor Party is promising to shut down the live sheep industry, which will put Australian shearers out of a job. And so now I think the electorate has this proposition that there is no traditional home for blue-collar workers in this country. I would say that the Nationals Party, the Liberal Party, we're the parties that stand up for workers now because we support the live sheep industry, we support the coal industry, we support the gas industry, we support cheap energy that protects so many jobs in the manufacturing sector as well. And so I know in this region, in central Queensland, a lot of workers have woken up to that, but I think around the country, people are starting to understand that the Labor Party just trades workers' rights off every time they have to do a deal with the Greens, and they might have to do a bloody big deal with the Greens in a few weeks' time.
Well, Michael, that leads me neatly to your campaign in wanting to put the Greens last in the seat of Macnamara, but elsewhere as well, obviously. Obviously, if you want to respond to what Matt was saying there about the modern Labor Party, but also I want to get your thoughts on this, on why it is so critical to put the Greens last.
Look, Matt's got some points. You know, I think Labor's drifted too far away from poorer people or pensioners. I don't think they had a live sheep trade when the AWU was formed 100 years ago, though. But to the more important point about the Green Party, it's become an extremist party, Rowan. They've got this monstrous sign over Broadmeadows. You'd think they were campaigning in Gaza. It's got a huge green sign called Free Palestine. We estimate that they spent $30,000 over several weeks having that enormous sign, monster, over the poor suburb of Broadmeadows, and it's indicative. The sign's indicative of the mentality of the Green political party, which has drifted to the hard left. Adam Bandt is a very grim leader compared to Di Natale or Bob Brown, and they seem to be more concerned with, supporting blockages of the city or organising demos at defence exhibitions than focusing on the environment. So in Macnamara, where they've got a chance of being elected if Labor ran third, we're running a very active social media and how to vote campaign, educating Labor voters in particular that you do not have to preference the extremist Green Party. You can preference other political parties, including the Liberals.
Now, I want to ask you both. Michael referred to, obviously, the anti-Semitism we saw on campuses and in the streets of our cities all last year. I think the Liberal Party, particularly Peter Dutton, has been absolutely outstanding in standing up against this madness. If the coalition get into government, I'd hope that goes further, and I dread what happens if Labor get back in. But interestingly enough, Matt, the Trump administration is threatening Harvard University with freezing federal funds and also potentially banning the enrolment of foreign students. And this is due to the anti-Israel protests. And they've also pushed other DEI things onto them as part of their funding. Now, they're obviously very different circumstances, but do you think that there's an argument that in Australia, taxpayers should be saying to the government, really, should we be funding our universities if they're going to concentrate on this sort of anti-Semitism and other hard left activities?
Well, look, Rowan, I want to see us fund higher education. It's an extremely important industry for our country. And I know a lot of people talking about the exports, but what I'm mainly focused on is making sure we have centres of excellence that train excellent Australian engineers, excellent Australian scientists, excellent Australian accountants and lawyers and all the things we need. Probably don't need too many more lawyers, but you know what I mean. We need these good people and we need excellent institutions to do that. And we should make sure that the federal funding we provide, which is massive, does deliver those outcomes. And I think if the universities are following left-wing, DEI, ESG, free Palestine agendas, they're clearly running counter to that overall objective and why we are funding them. We've had a big issue with actually censorship, not censorship of free Palestine protesters. They seem to get away with anything they like, but there has been a big problem with censoring conservative and right-wing opinions at our universities. And all the universities have signed up to a free speech pledge there, but I don't know if that's really being implemented. So again, I think, yes, absolutely, we should tie funding to those sort of outcomes that deliver good results for the Australian people and make our universities bastions of free thinking and excellent academic endeavours for the future of all Australians.
Now, quickly, Michael, we've had a report in the UK Telegraph that Britain is now the heartland of Islamic extremism. Many Muslim nations have moved away from Islamist extremism, they claim, and, the radicals are now centred in Europe. Do you think there's any truth in that? And should we in Australia be concerned about this, for example, with Labor's importing 3,000 Gazans, importing people from 26,000, I think, from Afghanistan? Should this be of serious concern to us?
Well, anyone coming from anywhere should have proper security examinations. And I'm just in favour of the same rules being applied to Gazans that would be applied to people from anywhere else in the world who came from a war-run region. So, it's not being done and it should be done. Britain seems to be quite crazy with these issues where you can't describe the background of an immigrant who murdered 3 little girls in a children's play, that you can't have inquiries which they've now dropped into the Pakistani rape gangs in working for decades in the north of England. This is intolerable. We certainly don't. We're not as bad as the UK at the moment, but if Keir Starmer doesn't do something about it, he's going to see Nigel Farage and the Reform Party elected in the United Kingdom because people just won't put up with it. I mean, I think I was a big Australia person, but I think we've had too many people come in the last 2 years here.
Yep,
and certainly the UK is far worse.
10 seconds, Matt. Should we be not letting all those Gazans and Afghanistanis into the country, or if coalition gets into government, what happens?
Well, it's just about proper scrutiny, and we haven't been able to do that with the Gaza situation, unfortunately. It just wasn't able to because of the humanitarian crisis there. So Michael's absolutely right. Completely agree with him. I'm not against having a refugee program, having a good-hearted and good-natured hospitality from Australians, people doing it right, doing it tough, but our security has to come first.